to our candidate forum. My name is Tom Throne. I'm chairman of the committee, elections committee. We have 8 of our 9 candidates here this evening, and I'll go over the basic format. Every candidate will introduce themselves, then we'll go back to the left side, and all the candidates will do up to a 3-minute opening statement. When we're concluded with that, then we'll ask questions. We're going to alternate from one end to the other, so we're going to go left to right and right to left in order to give everybody an opportunity, or as many as we can, to speak first. At each of the questions that we'll ask, each candidate will be allowed up to 2 minutes for a response. And then when we're done asking the questions, everybody will have a chance for up to a 2-minute closing statement. We're going to try to keep this to between an hour and an hour and a half and 2 hours. It will not be longer than 2 hours, but we hope to be done closer to the hour and a half. There's refreshments over on this side of the room. There's coffee, water, and cookies. Feel free to partake of those. I forgot to say something to the candidates. You'll notice that there's a clock over here. You should pay attention to that, because that tells you how much time you have remaining in your statements, whether it's opening statements or questions or closing statements. When the time runs out, I will cut you off. So you want to keep an eye on that. Are there any questions from the audience before we begin? I do have the questions that have been submitted. I will tell you that I don't know that we'll get to all of them, but we'll try to get through as many as we can. With that, I think we'll start. So, Mary, if y'all would introduce yourselves down the line, and then we'll start with the opening statements.
I'm Pat Laurie.
I'm Lou Wallman.
I'm Jerry Barron, Jr. William Rex Butler.
I'm Gerald or Jerry Hover.
Bill Barr.
Mike Abb.
Good evening. I'm a candidate for the board of directors because I believe in the POA. It has become a strong force for change with a robust vision for the future. I believe I can contribute to the board's efforts by ensuring our amenities are maintained and improved in a thoughtful and fiscally responsible manner, and by promoting increased community engagement. I've worked in corporate America in the technology sector and as an entrepreneur owning and operating a gourmet restaurant and catering service with my husband for 17 years. My volunteerism has cut across a wide spectrum, including a residential care program for neglected and abused teenagers, a senior housing authority, one end to the other of that spectrum, a project with the State Department of Natural Resources regarding the management of a small dam, a lakes association, a nature conservancy, the Chamber of Commerce, and finally, as director of the Bella Vista Arts and Crafts Festival for 2 years. Change has been a constant in my life. I do not believe that if it's not broken, don't fix it. I do believe if it's not broken, make it better. Thank you.
Good evening. As I said, my name is Pat Laurie, and I've had the honor of serving on the board of directors for the past 3 years. The board of directors that we have right now has accomplished tremendous things during the course of my tenure on the board, not necessarily because I was a member, but because I participated along with the other members of the board in reaching decisions that we think benefit the community and are in the best interest of the community. Right after I became a member of the board, we made perhaps the boldest step that we could have taken in order to ensure that the community moves forward. And that bold step was the hiring of our new general manager, Mr. Tom Judson. Without Tom's guidance and leadership over the past several years, we certainly wouldn't have accomplished what we have. We have a new beach soon to open at Lake Avalon. We have work beginning on an expansion of the recreation center at Branchwood. We are expanding the country club and improving the country club, and that is going to be open very, very soon for your enjoyment and your pleasure, where we're going to have offices, golf, restaurants, meeting areas, and a welcome center to bring new people into the community. We've made improvements on our golf courses with a tremendous revision of the way in which Scottsdale operates and is laid out. Highlands and Dogwood have also been courses that we have done some renovations on, the collars at Highlands, for example. But most of all, the major accomplishment that we have had is that we have a plan for the future. When I first joined the board, we did Band-Aids. We would stop this, start that. Our Band-Aid approach had no planning and no thought and no vision. I want to continue to be a part of that vision, to share with the board and the community my knowledge of, for instance, the hydrology study that has been done on Birksdale, the collection of statistics on golfing, so that we continue to serve the important group of our members who play golf, and yet at the same time don't have more than we need. I am excited about the work of the new Community Involvement Committee, where we are expanding the involvement of in the city's works, in the community works, and I have to tell you that I am committed to and unwavering in my service to the board.
I'm Lou Wallman, and I'd like to give you some background of my life. I went to school in Van Buren, Arkansas, graduated there, and decided to go to a trade school in Los Angeles. And then for some reason, I took the test for being a Los Angeles policeman. And I wonder why I ever did that. I have been shot one time, I've been stabbed one time, and I've been hit by a hit and run car. And it was on purpose. But after leaving that, about 7 years, I decided I needed to get into something a little safer. So I went into teaching, high school, and I don't know what was worse. And then also, I'm a general contractor, which I'm involved in construction of all stages. I did that for about 25 years. And then the mayor of Van Buren asked me to run for the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission is a pretty strict little organization to try to keep the city going straight and to do things right, and do it legal. And that's about all I got for you tonight for me. Thank you.
Hi. Like I told you, my name is Jerry Barron. My wife and I moved to Bella Vista full-time 18 months ago. And during that time, I kind of have loved every minute that I've been here. We love the community. We love the surrounding areas. With that said, I lived on the Gulf Coast, so you can imagine why I tried to get away from it. Mosquitoes, heat, and then the traffic. But don't have all those things here in Bella Vista. But what I do see is the amenities, and that's what drew us to Bella Vista in the first place. I'd like to be part of that change because I see Bella Vista changing. Every day that we're here, I see it changing to one direction or the other. I came up here 26 years ago, and that's when my dad moved here. So that's why I've seen Bella Vista since the village days on up to now. And I can see that change, and I want to be a part of that change. In my working career, I was an environmental specialist for the number 3 chemical company in the world, and it was LyondellBasell. And I was a environmental specialist for the Environmental Research Group. And with that said, I was charged with building the research facility, and I had to interact with all kinds of contractors as well as the researchers themselves and get what they needed to perform their functions. I also volunteered during that time to do basically 4-H projects with my kids, and I became the president of Galveston County Fair and Rodeo for 6 years. If you've ever dealt with parents that want the best for their kids, you learn how to work with people. It's a challenge, and it's no more a challenge than what I see here in Bella Vista. So if things work out well, and I get y'all's vote, then I will do the best to see to it that the needs of the young people coming into Bella Vista are met with the seniors that are living here. And I think that they can all coexist with the environment that we've created here. A lot of the amenities are shared. I believe I don't want to lose any amenities. And until I really see a good reason why we would give up amenities, I probably would fight that. But with that said, I will do the best to keep my integrity throughout the whole process to the people that I represent, which is you, if I'm elected. Thank you.
Rex?
First off, I want to thank you all for coming out. It's good to see the interest. My name is Rex Butler, and if elected, I'll represent the property owners of Bella Vista and stand up for their concerns. I've lived here in Bella Vista for 4 years. I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Auburn University and worked over 35 years as a data analyst in the oilfield service, where I built businesses from scratch in both Dallas, Texas, and Perth, Australia. I'm currently Golf Committee Vice Chair, trustee on the Board of Directors at Highlands Methodist Church, and president of the Highlanders Golf Club. I believe that here in Bella Vista we have a huge potential, but we're going to have to look for more sources of revenue and better ways to generate money. I believe our golf courses are capable of doing this, and that if we market them properly, we can make them cash flow sufficient. We have huge challenges in the next 3 years as Mother Nature tries to reclaim her golf courses. Tough decisions will have to be made. But as a 61-year-old retired single man, I think I have the time and energy to devote to you to make this happen in your best interest. Please cast your vote for me. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the current board. Excuse me. There we go. I think it's on now. Good evening to everyone. Mr. Mayor, members of the current board, the election committee, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you coming out tonight to learn a little bit more about each of the candidates. Those the folks that are at home and will be watching later on, I appreciate your time as well, just to learn a little bit more about us. I think my qualifications pretty much really stand on themselves. Have a bachelor's degree in administration, a master's of business administration, and a PhD in resource management. Okay, as far as my experience, it's all been with Parks and Recreation. I'm a certified Parks and Recreation professional. I'm a certified city manager professional. You know, we came here a few months ago, and I have no real perceived ideas about problems or what may come about here. But this is where we like to be. This is where we want to be. Over the years, we have watched it grow and ebb and grow again. and finally decided it's time for us to move here and be a part of it. You know, we enjoy the amenities, and I stretch out the word amenities. There's the things that the POA board has done, there's things the city has done. There's also the things that Mother Nature has done. And even though some of those get devastating, they're still all in a good manner. We have world-renowned trail systems right now. We have world-renowned volunteerism. Okay, these are all positive things that we like, and volunteering has always been in the whole Hover family throughout the years. I mean, not only my wife and I, but my brothers as being city managers, city mayors, legislators, and other state government and county government, constantly being part of other groups and so on, Rotarians, Masons, and Elks, go on from there. So we are committed, is what I'm trying to say out of all of it. And we will take the time, I will take the time to try and continue with making Bella Vista the best place there is in the world to live for the health, safety, and environment. Thank you.
Bill?
My name is Bill Barr. Since moving to Bella Vista 8 years ago, I've been involved in the community. For the past 39 months, I've been a member of the Joint Advisory Committee for Golf, and for the past 9 months, I've served as a chairman, and prior to that, I served as a vice chairman. I also serve as a liaison from the Golf Committee to the POA Marketing Committee. Also, because of my education and former employment as a fisheries biologist and lake management specialist, I'm well versed in the needs of our lakes. My leadership experience consists of serving as a combat unit platoon sergeant, attending and graduating with honors from 2 United States Army Leadership Academies, serving as an NCO aide to a major general in the European Command, owning and operating a business with over 20 employees, and serving in other supervisory capacities. In the past 2 years, many of our facilities have been updated and we've added new amenities. There still is one large facility that needs attention, and that's Riordan Hall. This will be an expensive undertaking, but that's one that's badly needed. Our reserves have been mostly depleted during the current renovations and the new amenity constructions. In order to build a new Riordan Hall that we can all be proud of, the people of Bella Vista will have to seriously consider an assessment increase. The current assessment of $24 has been the same since 2001, and while costs for everything have risen, the assessment hasn't. A new Riordan Hall could bring an enhanced workout area, indoor walking track, indoor swimming, meeting rooms, and much more. This would serve both the young and the old and would be a wonderful center for our community. Because I'm retired, I have the time to commit to serving on the board of directors. I also believe that because of my involvement with the committees that I serve on, and the fact that I regularly attend board meetings and I'm well informed on the issues facing the POA in the future, and I'm well positioned to be a contributing member of the board of directors in solving those issues. If elected, I will work to satisfy the needs of both the young and old and serve the community as a whole. Thank you.
Mike?
My name is Mike Abb. I'm a local Arkansas resident. I was born and raised in Bentonville. Although I don't have as many years in the saddle as my constituents here, I don't feel like that doesn't allow me to still be a value add to the POA board. I've seen this area, like you mentioned, ebb and flow throughout the years, and it's been an incredible change in just the past decade. I work daily on revitalization of communities across Northwest Arkansas, and a lot of that has to do with renovating the downtowns to provide economic potential. And so every day we deal with a number of different strategies and business plans and groups and vested interest parties. And so, like many of the folks that mentioned down here, I'm very, very tuned into how to communicate with people and what that looks like from all walks of life. And I wish there was some some additional age range difference here, but I definitely feel like I can help shore up that side of Bella Vista's changing demographic. And I definitely look forward to enjoying the amenities that we already have and trying to build up the ones that are to come, and as well as fortify the ones that we haven't quite got all the way together so far. I'm a big advocate of the trails. I'm a big advocate of the lakes. I'm not a golfer, but I don't want to make me what I think a lot of it could appear like is that maybe I'm not going to be pro golf, which I think will end up being a hot topic this season, as many of the flood studies and the recent numbers on the golf courses have us scratching our heads on what to do next. As Bill mentioned, the POA assessment increase is definitely going to be a hot topic, and we're going to have to think long and hard on how to make sure we do the right thing with that money if we were to get it, and if we don't, what's going to come next. So I'm excited to give some effort and some energy to this community, and I hope that they give that back to me.
Thank you. Our first question will start with Pat, and we'll move from left to right, and then the following question will go to Mike, and it'll go from right to left. So the first question, Pat, is the Valley Flood Study was a joint venture between the POA and the City of Bella Vista, and it was released last week. What are your thoughts on the future of the Valley courses?
I think that the flood study provides us with data which will guide our decision. The flood study has given us information about what needs to be repaired, what needs to be shored up. And one thing we have to recognize is that the hydrology study has told us that we are going to have floods. The question is, how do we manage those? How do we manage the oncoming disasters? And how do we best utilize the resources that we have to meet the needs of the community? Everybody realizes how important golf is to this community, and we cannot lose sight of that fact. We have to service the golfing community. But the question is, what are we going to do with the floods, with the area that is affected most by floods? If we can't stop them, how can we work with them? It's a question that we all as a community have to answer. The board has the primary responsibility, but everybody needs to give input into what is the best use of the flooding golf courses in the Highway 71 valley.
Lou?
I live right on Burksdale, number 2 elevated T. So if you make the U-turn right there to turn around, that's my backyard. I've seen this flood, and I see what went on. In fact, I volunteered with my golf cart and a big old trash can hooked to the back of it to get rid of debris. I did that for probably a week straight, and it was a genuine mess. But what we need to do is we need to take this report that was given, and we need to start at the south end of Burksdale and work our way out with the direction of the water, getting rid of the gravel bars and going just right by what the report says. And then we need to do that, in stages. Stages means also our budget. So if we can budget our way out the same way the repairs are being done, get down to a certain point, and then we might have to stop right there and then see how that works at the first time we get a lot of water coming down through there. But we can't do it all at one time. It's going to take a couple years. But we just need to kind of do it in stages and get Burksdale open back up. There's a lot of people that want to golf there, and we got to increase our golf traffic. Thank you.
Jerry?
Okay. I listened to the study that went on, and the one fact that came out, we're going to have floods. There's no way around it due to the increased population of Bentonville and Centerton. All the houses they build are taking up the permeable land that normally would soak up a little bit of that moisture. And the report had talked about 85 miles of drainage systems that work their way down through the Sugar Creek area. And that's why you don't see any houses down by the golf courses. But the first thing that people see when they come through this area is the golf courses. They see a beautiful, pristine golf course, well maintained. And because of that, they have a tendency to say, well, I'm going to check into Bella Vista a little more. So with all the problems we've got, we still see that the golf courses out there are a big draw to a lot of the people of Bella Vista. The plan that was said laid 3 different routes that we could go to solve our flooding problem. We're never going to solve the flooding problem, but we can mitigate the floods that we've got. They were talking about slowing the water down, and there's different ways to do that. That would take time. Just to get the permit would probably take a year to get the permit. So you're looking at about a 2-year period or a little bit more to get it done. That's just getting started. And we're going to have floods possibly in that time. But I don't want to see us kick the can down the road either. It's a domino effect. If one course goes, it's possible the other next course, which would be Kingwood, would go too. And then on down to the country club. And we've put a lot of money into the country club to make it a pristine place. I'm proud of our golf facilities that we have, and we need to do everything we can to sustain them because they do bring us. That's a lot of us when we came here, the amenities is what brought us here, and that is part of our amenities to a lot of the people. Thank you.
Rex?
So you've got the 3 golf courses, 2 of which primarily most of the golfers in Bella Vista like to play better than any other ones. And then you've got Mother Nature. And Mother Nature is a tough thing to stop, I know. I've spent 35 years trying to figure her out, and I can tell you right now, you usually lose. The stopgap measures you make will not stop the flooding, so you've got to try to figure out a way to handle it. So I would like to see some sort of a compromise, and I don't know the details of what it would be, that would keep the golf courses open, but yet minimize the amount of money that we spend shoring up a riverbed. That's all I got. Thank you.
Jerry?
I've looked at the study and researched some things, had some experience with flooding in the past and so on. You know, one of the things, the questions that comes to mind right at first is, what's your rate of return? You know, what can I get back out of this if I spend so much money and so on? And I think we've got to look at more than just dollars that might come in from playing golf, but how about the home values, you know, that go along with it, the quality of life, that just in itself. The alternatives that were provided within the study are all good. They all need to be done. They can be done relatively inexpensively if you really think about how that's done and cooperatively with other agencies and other entities out of that. So to me, we need to keep the golf course. It's a necessity, and I think we can do that. We can mitigate it, but I think we need to go a little bit further too and begin negotiations and discussions with the other entities that are involved in the area within the watershed. That's the cities, the counties, and everything else, developing more retainage ponds as they coming down through. That's going to take some time, but it can be done, and I think by working together we can make it work.
Bill?
Yeah, I've got previous experience with the DNR, and I've worked on trout stream restoration, and the one thing that this study does not address is what order it should be repaired in. You've got 3 golf courses, 2 of which need repair work done on them. The problem with starting at the south end of Birksdale is you're going to harden the surface, you're going to increase the velocity of the water, which is just going to cause more problems downstream. There has to be a plan where we can address it at strategic points that would minimize the damage and the floods that we have at later dates. I'm somebody that golfs. I golf 4 to 5 times a week. I don't want to lose those golf courses. But I think we need to come up with a further plan. I think it needs further study as to how you mitigate that damage going forward. Thank you.
Mike?
Well, I agree on the ROI statement. How many here in the crowd have seen the study? Okay, quite a few of you. Some pretty large numbers in there when talking about what the repair is going to be like. And many of you are aware of where the current budget sits with the improvement to the amenities already. We're going to be basically exhausting the budget in 2018, which is going to put us up against basically a forced dues increase, or something's going to happen where we're not going to be able to do any of these things because we won't have the money. Okay, so it's as simple as that. How's it going to be paid for? How's it going to be ongoingly paid for? We definitely have major question marks around that, and it's more than 90 seconds could ever answer. And it's something that's been hard to answer for decades here in Bella Vista. That's why it hasn't changed since 2001 on a dues increase. Personally, I find it very hard to make a logical push towards spending more to keep them open. It's difficult. I agree with all the sentiment and statements here about that amenity being one of the major draws to this community, and it has been for decades. It has been since the inception, basically. Boy, it is really, really hard to battle Mother Nature, as you all said, and I'm not quite sure any amount of money that we can throw at it, wherever the mystery money is going to come from, is going to stop it. And we may need to be looking at some additional usage of that property versus golf and decide, is this a better option to go down, and where is the return on all that?
Okay, Mike, we're going to start with you, and we're going to work. Oh, sorry, Mary.
Let me preface my comments by saying I am not a golfer. I play at it occasionally, but I certainly would not consider myself a golfer, nor am I an engineer. I attended the meeting last Thursday regarding the Valley study, and my initial reaction was that I support doing something. We have been throwing good money after bad for years. When there's flooding, we repair it and just wait for the next one to happen. Understanding that we'll never stop the flooding, we can certainly minimize the effect of the flooding that's going to happen year after year. I'm a firm believer that those three courses do attract people to Bella Vista. As you come in or go out of the area, you've got those beautiful rock cliffs on one side, depending on which direction you're going, and those three golf courses on the other. And I think it does make people stop and think, what else does this area have? So at this point, I'm going to say I am in support of fixing the problem. The money can be found either through a bank loan, line of credit, or a dues increase.
Okay, sorry, Mary. So we're going to start here with Mike, and we're going to go back across, ending with Mary. So we're going to dovetail into the previous question because many of you brought it up. What are your thoughts on an assessment increase, and how would you go about getting one passed?
Well, I don't think we really have a choice here. It's one of those things where it's the cards are on the table. If we don't have a dues increase, we're probably not going to be able to shore up the budget or tackle any of these newfound problems with the flood study has shown us, as well as tackle some of the other amenities that are in sorely need of repair, as mentioned earlier here in the building that we sit in right now in Riordan Hall. At the end of the day, there was a nice analogy that Tom made in the budget review meeting that we had. He goes, name one thing in your house that hasn't been updated since 2001. And I think that's a pretty apt way to look at things. That being said, It's, 8 times that it's been voted down in a row, and they got their closest this last time. I don't know what the communication gap is between the POA and its property owners, but we need to make a more diligent case for why that money would be needed and that increase should be allowed. But we have to be better stewards of that budget. And as mentioned earlier, thanks to Tom's efforts, things are going on the right path. But there was decades when it wasn't. And I think people have a lot of distrust that's still harbored there, that their money wasn't championed or stewarded correctly. And that is something that we really, really have a PR issue really at the POA to talk about how we get over that stigma that we were bad stewards of the budget and the money, because people aren't going to trust us with more of it if we can't prove that we're trustworthy. Now, I see some of these amenities that have been upgraded here, and I think that's providing us a nice example bed to win that trust. But then there's stuff like the flood study where it really some question marks on where the money's going to come from and how much it's going to continue to cost us. So I think we do need a dues increase, but we've got to get our communication correct.
Thank you, Bill.
I looked at a inflation calculator the other day. In 2001, our assessment increased $24. If you look at the inflation we've had since that date, if we had kept track or kept pace with inflation, our dues today would be $35. What's happened in the last 2 years with the current board that we have, we've seen a great increase in the quality and the number of our amenities. That shows what can happen if we spend money on our amenities. Unfortunately, we've spent down our reserves in that time to increase or improve those amenities. Going forward, if we're going to keep increasing in the quality and the number of our amenities, we have to have an assessment increase. There's no other way to do it. If we don't have an assessment increase, we'll stay where we're at now. We'll be able to maintain them, but they'll never get better. And we're going to go into an aging process again. Thank you.
Jerry?
The question has come up about whether or not do we agree with assessment increases or not. And at present time, I can't say that any of us agree or disagree with assessment increases. Things that we need to do, we need to answer first of all is what do we do with the current funds that we do have right now? How are those being spent? What do we want to do? You know, what is it going to cost? Can we find some alternatives to those? Can we find other partners? Some creative financing? You know, these are all questions that we need to answer and then become very transparent with all of our members. Explain exactly what it is and how we're going to go about doing that. And once we do that, we still have to take into account the inflation because that's eaten up every year. And what does it all mean down at the bottom is that we want to have the best quality of life, and we need to do things today that makes for a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, I spent a lot of time on the phone campaigning to get people out to vote for the last dues increase that failed by this much. We just missed it by that much. So I think if we bring it up again, we got a pretty good chance of passing it. I don't see there's any way we're going to survive in the long term without getting some sort of schedule for increasing our dues along with inflation. So I'm definitely for it and would work hard to campaign to promote one to be put through. Thank you.
Jerry?
Yes, change is something that we've talked about. It's everywhere around us. The amenities we have are great for what we've got. What we pay for is just tremendous. I came from Houston, Texas, and to have the same type facilities that we have there, it would cost us probably around $400 a month just to do it, just to keep that kind of thing. But look at this Riordan Hall right here. If you put some bleachers on the side and a goalpost on each end, and you got a gymnasium. I mean, that's pretty antiquated. The fixes they've made have been fantastic, well spent money to revitalize. The old country club looked dead at one time. It was dead at one time. And the building it back up, it's looking like something you can be proud of. Now, when you get down to the amenities themselves, we pay $24, basically. All right, if the amenities don't pass, then something's going to rise. You play golf, you love golf, that golf price might go up $6. Where a $4 amenity that was asked for would have made your monthly dues go to $28. Now you're paying $30-something for the golf. It kind of makes sense if the amenities are used wisely that we can all still keep what we've got. And it's something that needs to be done.
When I when I first moved here, there was an increase that was coming, and so I went out and asked my neighbors, and they said no, they're not going to vote for anything like that. And I asked them, why did you move to Bella Vista? And I said, do you use all the amenities that we got here? No. And I asked myself, well, why are you in this type of community? You know, and then we have communities like Pinnacle and Shadow Valley. To drive through the gates, it's $450 a month. And they don't have all the golf courses that we got. You know, I mean, they got tennis courts. Well, we got them too. But the value there that these people don't see. And I'm kind of like the gentleman here. I went out and I campaigned for it, and I voted for it. And I was brand new to this area. And it's well worth the value. I mean, $8. I mean, $8, $10. I mean, I can't believe that somebody would turn it down, because when they do that, it could hurt our property values if that goes away.
Pat?
I believe that we need an assessment increase. But the fact that I believe that we need an assessment increase doesn't mean squat. Because there are a lot of people who believe that we don't need an assessment increase. And their opinion doesn't mean squat either. What we have to do is gather data. And right now the Board of Directors has a committee looking into the financing for our future. That committee is considering all of the possible changes to our environment, all of the revenue streams that we might be able to consider. They're looking at how we can pay for the amenities we currently have and how we can pay for amenities that we would like to have that are part of our long-term plan. That group will provide us with information. And to say that we're always going to behave logically may be a dangerous statement, but I would put my bet on logic instead of emotion. If we can show the community exactly what they're going to get for their $24 and what they're going to get for their $32 or $27 or $35, whatever that bottom line is, we've got to prove to the community that they're getting bang for the buck. And it's all going to be based on facts, not emotion.
Mary?
Well, I think we have shown the community what they can get for their assessments. The improvements that have been made over the last 2 years are nothing less than astounding as far as I'm concerned. 2 years ago, all of the amenities sort of looked like Riordan Hall. They were sad and tired and not ADA compliant, which is a whole other issue. If there is a vote to increase the assessment, I agree with Pat that people are going to see what their money is doing for them, and we have to make them understand the impact on property values by doing these things, making these changes. Tom Judson put himself out there a year and a half ago or whenever the last vote was. He worked his fanny off. He would talk to any group about the assessment increase. but all he had to show them were architectural drawings. Now we have actual facilities to show, and I think people are going to read the facts and vote the right way.
Thank you. Lou, we're going to start with you and work our way back across. What type of amenities would you like to see in order to increase the participation of younger members and their families?
The younger people are kind of at a problem right now with incomes. They're looking at this like they can't afford it, where the elderly, they might have the same problem. But as far as the younger group, I think we need more recreational stuff. Like if we had, I'm not saying that we could do it, indoor tennis courts, maybe 2 courts, to bring people out during the wintertime. I know that a lot of clubs have that right now, but to have more involvement in the younger people, you know, that's a tough little deal to get them out of the house right now. Everybody's on their little phones all the time. You know, it's all indoor sports. It's the way my next door neighbors are. They come home from work, they're inside, kids and all. And it's tough to get them outside to do this again. And I hope somebody can come up with a plan to get the younger people here, because, you know, the older people like us are, you know, we might not be using too much longer. So, you know, thank you.
Jerry?
You say what young people would want. I don't know about you, but I'm in my second childhood right now. And I'm really starting to enjoy the amenities that we have. You know, we've gone the right way. We've got the bike trails. I have a son that just loves those bike trails. We're getting at Branchwood, I think we're having the disc golf put in. I had another one, I just told about it today, and he wants to come up here. I have to usually beg him to come up here. But that's what they like. They like that kind of stuff. The pickleball, some pickleball courts. I don't know a whole lot about it, and I can't visualize somebody with a paddle knocking a pickle around. But no, seriously, I know what it is, but it's something that we can enjoy. So it's not just the young person that gets to do that. It's us. So I'd have to do some studying, honestly, to see what's that's new out there. There's no way we could bring in a Top Golf or anything like that. If you don't know what a Top Golf is, it's basically a facility that's multi-tiered, and you hit from the different floors up there to targets. And it's really popular where I came from, and all the kids loved it. I loved it. But I'd have to do a little research on it to really look at the new things, because a lot of them we're already meeting now.
Rex?
Well, I don't pretend to understand what young people might or might not want. I think the 2 that you mentioned is a good start in that direction, and certainly we're going to have to start trying to move our catering toward that direction, because that's the way the population is going to change. I would promote the idea of polling them and try to see what kind of things they might like, and see if there's some in there that we can figure out a way to fit into our plans. But I don't know exactly what that might be, though the pickleball and disc golf seem to be a good start in that direction. Thanks.
Jerry?
Under some of the national studies, which probably pertain here just about as well, the pickleball is the number 1, disc golf is number 2, open play fields would be number 3, a ropes course or several ropes courses in each of the different areas and so on. That's where you depend upon your fellow teammates to help protect you and so on while you're climbing through the trees and on ropes. It's very challenging, but it's very team building. Different things. I think there could be some rock climbing in some certain areas. Zip line certainly is not out of the question. There's a number of fast-moving type things that younger people are wanting, as well as the second generation, the second childhood coming back in, wanting to do those same kinds of things. So those are the things that I would be looking at. But first of all, I think we would do the opinion poll to find out what is it that you want here.
Bill?
Yeah, the present board right now is doing a very good job of installing amenities for younger people. They're in the process, or they're soon going to start putting in new playgrounds, which would include zip lining, other things that kids like now. If we were able to build new Riordan, you'd have indoor swimming. In golf, I know that they're trying to enlarge the junior golf program, get more kids involved. I believe that the board is now looking at hiring another teaching pro, which would be heavily involved with getting kids involved in golf, getting families involved. They've also put in the skills bike amenity, in addition to the new bike trails. I think if we just build on what we have now and what's being proposed right now, that we'd be in good shape. Thank you.
Mike?
I'll echo those sentiments. I don't believe that there's anything necessarily missing. It's just an underutilization of them, and mainly to make it easier to play on the lakes, play on the trails. Currently, right now, I'm not aware of any type of rental of any sort apart from GPP having a couple bikes for rent there for people to get in and involved on the trail systems, or kayak or canoe rental, anything of that way that families can come in and not have to have such a large upfront investment to enjoy these amenities. It's one thing to go to the lake and splash in the side of the shoreline. It's another thing to be able to take a canoe out or a kayak out or rent a boat for the day and take your family out. It's another thing to have a $3,000 or $4,000 mountain bike. That's a huge barrier to entry for a lot of people. I don't know if you've ever been on a poorly crafted bike, but they're not really suited for that stuff. And to get a better rental fleet here so people can actually enjoy these amenities and not have the huge barrier of entry of the cost to stop it there. I mean, I look at Cooper Elementary and I look at what's happened there with the Greenway and now the extension of the Greenway around the soccer fields there. I think that's going to be boon for years to come for people down there, upgrading the amenities in and around there so when you can be there longer and easier. I mean, that sorry gas station that's over there is horrible. We should offload at least some sort of those food and drinks to the soccer courses and be able to play really on Lake Bella Vista's traffic down there and really bring some of that in-house. We've got a major revenue issue across the spectrum here, and we've got facilities that have nothing to buy at and nothing to rent from. But they're existing and they have been core staples to the amenity package here for years, but are poorly monetized. So I think it's not about what's new. And I've never heard of pickleball, and I guess I'm pretty young. So I don't think that's the solution.
All righty. Bill, we're going to start with you and work our way back. Oh, I did it again.
Having moved from far northern Wisconsin, where there's a very high concentration of summer camps, where tripping has become the thing to do, where they take the kids out of the camp for part of their 6 to 8 week stay in some cases, and send them out on trips, canoe trips, where they learn a lot of life skills like teaming, but that might be an opportunity for income for the POA by planning and doing these trips. I agree with Mike that we have a lot of facilities that people can't opt into because the equipment is very expensive, that we need to provide rentals so that people can take advantage of canoeing on the lakes, boating on the lakes, mountain biking, which is a huge thing in this area. Well, any kind of cycling in this area is huge. So if we take advantage of what we've got, I know that the Recreation Committee is planning some significant upgrades to playgrounds where it's not so much just a playground, but it's a learning experience for young people, which to me is probably one of the most important things, that it's just not play, it's learning.
Pat?
I could begin my comments by just saying ditto. But then I wouldn't have anything to say. The one thing I would do is perhaps look at it a little bit differently. I agree with those of my fellow candidates who have said that we just need to ask them. Let's ask the young people, what do you want? And that doesn't mean just the parents. That means the kids too. But let's just ask them. One of the things that was alluded to is the fact that we have to make the current amenities available to the parents. And that means that we should establish a significant and easily accessible child care service. Our duty as a board is not only to provide amenities, but to provide the opportunity for people to take advantage of those amenities. So the suggestions that have been made about having rentals available, I think is an excellent suggestion. But again, what can we do to help the parents take advantage of the adult amenities, and at the same time, what amenities do we need to meet the interests and needs of the kids? Again, as Mary mentioned, Joan has been doing a great deal of work on the new playground facilities that we want to install. We have things that kids play music on a playground instrument, and several other design features just are wonderful.
Over to Bill, and we'll move that direction. Bill, what are your strengths that you can bring to the board? And in addition to that, what kind of participation have you had on other POA boards and attendance to board meetings and work sessions, so that the audience can see how much involvement you've had in the POA?
I've been on the golf committee for 39 months. I've been the chairman for the last 9 months. Before that, I was the vice chairman. I do attend board meetings every month. I do go to some of the work sessions. I've been going to board meetings since I moved here. Not always every month, but lately it's been every month, partly because I'm on the golf committee. Thank you.
Jerry?
As far as strengths, well, I keep forgetting that.
What strengths can you bring to the board? And then what kind of activities have you been involved in, attending board meetings or participation in POA activities?
As far as strengths bringing to the board, I've got 48 years of working with boards and commissions, and probably out of that, some 25 years of being on various boards and commissions throughout my career. So I understand how they work, what they need to do, and can come to a collaborative decision working together with that. As far as attending the current boards, I've attended all the board meetings since October, as well as the work sessions, and most of the committee meetings since October. So, thank you.
Rex?
Yeah, I've been on the golf committee for about 18 months now, and been the vice chairman for the last 9 months as well. I've never actually served on a POA board before. This is the first time I've ever been around any POAs. All my experience on serving on any kind of management decision has all been in private business. But I think what that brings to the party is that I have a strong sense of how to market our assets in order to maximize their return. And I think that'll be the biggest thing that I bring to the party. Thank you.
Jerry?
I think what really is important, I have not been on the POA board, but I have given my time to a lot of different functions. Not only in my work career, I've developed safety plans that included three different plants, and got them all on board till the point that they got to 0 injuries. I've served on the Galveston County Fair and Rodeo in Texas, and I kind of mentioned that earlier, but the commitment in that, I attended all of their committee meetings because that was the obligation I had as president. I wanted to be there to know what was going on, and that's what I plan to do here. If elected, is basically attend the functions I need to. Each board member that's elected serves on 2 different committees. Of course, I'll make a plug right now for the golf committee because I received my degree through the years, and I think it was 55 when I finally got my bachelor's degree. But with that, I also received a minor because I was going to school at night when I was working during the day. And during that time, one of my minor was sports turf management, so I can contribute. I know what's going on in the golf industry there. But I think that the main thing is I know people. I've had to deal with a lot of people, and I think that's the people here, that's what they want to see. They want their ideas listened to, and I'm a good listener.
Thank you. Lou?
Yes, I was on the the City of Van Buren Planning Commission for 12 years, and we dealt with many problems that came to our city. We had to present that to the city council of anything that we passed to promote it or to decline it. And sometimes, like the politicians do, you're 50% right. And you make a lot of enemies and make a lot of friends just on the way you vote sometimes. I was also the head of vocational trades at the high school, where we had a board, and I was the head of it. We had business owners that were there for vocational trades, and a lot of them were dealerships, auto body, and so they had their input there, and it was quite testy. We also had the parents as where you're sitting now, and sometimes, like I say, it's hard to please everybody, but we did the best we could.
Pat?
As far as what I would bring to the board, I believe that I am open. I believe that as far as I can, I manage my biases and try to be fair and reasonable. Some people may disagree with me, but I try to do those things. I believe that another thing that I bring to the board is a thorough knowledge of our declarations and covenants. As a member of the board, I was chairperson of the Rules and Regulations Committee. And this past year, with the help of Doug McCash, our lawyer, we as a board rewrote the rules and regulations that guide us in our actions. We brought them all up to a standard so that future boards, the current board and future boards, know exactly what the rules and regulations are with common language throughout. So there's no discussion of, well, it meant this or meant that. We were clear, and again, with Doug's help, we did that. And I think I'm smart. Amen.
Mary?
I've never been a member of a POA before Bella Vista, so I have no direct experience with a POA board. I pretty much listed my volunteer activities these things, I'm bringing this closer. I pretty much listed the majority of my volunteer activities in my comments at the beginning. The two things that I think, the assets that I bring to the board are, one, I listen and I'm very willing to compromise after hearing all sides of an issue. And thanks to a dear friend of mine, I am obsessed with budgeting and adhering to a budget. When I was director of the Arts and Crafts Festival, my mantra was, when the budget is set, that's my money to use, but use wisely and thoughtfully. And I always came in under budget.
Mike?
Well, I've never served on the POA board. I look forward to the chance to serving with any community, but what I can say is that I've been a valued member of the Northwest Arkansas fabric for a number of years now, and I know many of you don't know me and I don't know you, but for those that want to look a little deeper into who and what I'm involved in, I think you'll see a pattern of consistently giving maximum effort to ensure that this place achieves the quality of life that I think everybody moved here for. And I do that mainly through being a creative individual. I think a little differently than others. I act a little differently than others. And that's made me a value to my teams that I work with and a value to the communities that I work with. And people look for that out of me. And sometimes I kind of turn into a caricature of myself through that, and that's sometimes difficult to deal with. But at the same time, I find a logic and a reason with these actions, and I like to somewhat upset the balance because I find that's where we find our new balance at. And although many of you have had many times and experiences with the POA so far, I enjoy the fact that I don't have those experiences because it doesn't provide me with a bias like many of you had mentioned that you try to not keep on things. And I hope to not have that as well. And it's difficult. This isn't an easy situation to get involved in. Not only is it a major time commitment, but it's people's money and it's their investment, it's their livelihood, it's their home, it's everything that they call community, and I don't take that lightly. So it isn't something just to do for fun. It isn't something to do to put on a resume. It's something to do because I want to do it. And I think that that's an important asset to bring to any team, is that you actually really want to be there. And I don't have an agenda other than to make Bella Vista a fantastic place.
Let's see, we're going to start with, I lost my place here. Jerry. Over the last couple of years, or recent years, the city and POA have worked closely together to improve their relationships. What areas do you see in that relationship that you might be able to work a little closer together?
We are kind of already doing that now in a couple of the issues. The POA and the city share the maintenance costs for the trails that go out throughout all of Bella Vista, or a good portion of Bella Vista. And they also share it in the flood study because it is a concern to the city. I think as issues come up that are the importance, say, of the flood study, that you'll see the POA and the city combine together in their assets as well as their leadership ability to try to mitigate those type things that come up. Without the amenities that are out there, people don't come to Bella Vista. They wouldn't want to come to Bella Vista. A few would, but as a rule, we come for the amenities. We come for the beauty that's here. And the city has no interest in our amenities, really. They don't care about the golf or anything like that. So there's bound to be ways that we cross, and it may be in this flood study that we can get together. We're an individual entity, a business, so to speak. The POA is. We can't get grants or anything like that straight from the government. We would need to work with the city to try to get stuff like that if it's even possible. So I think an open eye for the interest of Bella Vista would be the key to working with the city.
From what I can see, it looks like the city and the POA work together quite well. I can see several issues that they have addressed together, and certainly dealing with the flood situation is one where we're going to have to continue to work well together. I don't know what the best places would be to improve that, but it's something that I would certainly enjoy having a look to see if I could figure out. Thank you.
I think I'm like the rest of them, and the board and the city currently, the POA and the city work together quite well from what we can all see. As far as additional areas, that's just going to be what comes up. The flooding and Mother Nature, of course, is going to be part of it. I think a little more cooperation between city and POA in obtaining grants to build new facilities and new play fields for our children and for our young adults, because many of them like to play ball. And right now, there's not much area where they can do that. So, thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, the city and the POA have started working together over the last few years. One of the things they've done are the trails. They've also worked together, as other people have said, on the flood study. They've also worked together on signage throughout the community. Also, the signs where you come into and leave Bella Vista at both ends were a co-op venture. The city's also started promoting. They've promoting themselves, which is ultimately going to benefit the POA. Thank you.
Mike?
I agree. I think the city, the POA, and the other unnamed party, Cooper Communities, really needs to be part of this conversation as well in terms of working well together. There is definitely a gray area there, and I think we've got decades of history of kind of confusion of what entity does what and who has control and who has power in this community, and you've done some pretty good measured efforts to try to make that clear to people, but I think any of our polling would still show that many folks just don't quite know who does what and why, and where that money and how that decision tree is made. So communication is probably at the top of the list, making sure people are on the same page. I really like that we're starting to push another marketing message here and getting some synergy in the communication to the outside world, internally and externally, for what Bella Vista is going to stand for in the future and what the real, actual future. Hopefully this financial study will help guide some portions of that, but it boils down to communication. It's hard to look at the room. There's nobody here from my age range really at all, and apart from the majority of you who are either serving on a board or work for Bella Vista, there's nobody else from the community here either. Now hopefully some portions of this broadcast will be seen, but we can't even guarantee that. So we've really got to work on getting the message out to people and who's going to be delivering that message, and make sure it doesn't end up on a like when we played telephone in grade school, a garbled mess at the end of it. We got to get clear on what we want to stand for and work for, and that starts with better synergy with the city leaders and the POA leaders, point blank.
Mary?
Thank you, Tom. I disagree that the city doesn't care about the amenities. Having met and spoken with the mayor, they certainly do. And I see a synergy between the POA and the city. The mayor spends quite a bit of time promoting commercial enterprises within Bella Vista, which will help increase property values and provide more services for people, while the POA does their thing with the amenities. I see, although I don't know that there's any other POA that encompasses a whole city in the country. I know that the mayor and Tom Judson spend quite a bit of time together. And I'm sure they've had their differences, but in the end, what's come out of it has been good for everybody in Bella Vista.
Pat?
As Mary just noted, Tom and Mayor Christie spend time communicating with each other before any action is taken, that the other one is oftentimes aware of it before even perhaps the board about a planned action. And that's good. As a member of the board, I think I can exemplify the spirit of cooperation with the city in just one way, and that is that the mayor is Peter Christie. And whenever I see him, I shake his hand and say, how are you doing, Peter? We're on a first name basis because we have interacted. On some of the things that we have interacted about, they have not come to fruition, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to do that. One of the things that the POA did just recently, and I would ask how many of you are even aware of it, we have leased some lots to the city for $1, I believe, or maybe $2 because they're 2 lots, but $1, and that those lots are going to be used to build a new fire academy. The city had a need that the POA could fulfill, and that cooperation is what should mark our interactions. If one or the other of us has a need and the other can help to fulfill it, that's what should be our goal, because we are a community.
Lou?
Well, I can see that the county, I don't believe is going to help us at all, and the city of Bentonville, and this is where a lot of the water's coming from, is Bentonville, and I don't believe they're going to help us very much. They have done some things. I think there's been something from the Waltons that came in that helped with the lake or something. I'm not for sure on that. And then the city, I don't see them really pitching in a whole bunch of money to help us do this project. So that's why we need to get our act together and take our forward motion and get this fixed. Thank you.
I think we'll wind this forum down, and we'll start with our closing statements, and we'll start with Jerry and work our way around. So, Jerry, you're up.
Okay. My main goal throughout my career was to develop trust among my peers, trust among my legislators, trust among the Congress, and trust among our neighbors and so on. And to examples of that, I was elected the president of the State Parks Directors Association. I was also elected the president of the National Parks and Recreation. Okay, been on the school board. These things are kind of examples of how I build trust, and I would continue to build the trust with the board and the trust with all the people of Bella Vista. And my vision is a better tomorrow for all of Bella Vistans and her guests in health and safety and the environment by doing things today for the better tomorrow. Thank you.
Rex?
I don't have too much more to add to what I've already said. When I first came here, it was obvious to me that the golf courses are not utilized by the Northwest Arkansas. It's clear that the golfers in the 4 communities south of us are not really aware that they're free to come up here and play, I don't believe. I don't think we've even communicated that to them. So we need to do a little better job of marketing our golf courses locally, and then we also need to do a better job of recruiting golfers from other areas nationally in order to generate revenues from our golf courses, which I think can be self-sustaining. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Jerry?
Bella Vista is about the people that live here, and I'm proud to be a part of that. And I'd like to give back to the people through the service that I can offer. This place has everything that my wife and I dreamed of to enjoy and spend the later part of our years. It provides a place for our kids and our grandkids to come and enjoy themselves. We don't live next door to our kids, but a lot of people do. But when they come, I can devote 100% of our time to enjoying them growing up. And they can enjoy being with us. And I think we owe it, the board owes it to the people here in Bella Vista to keep that in mind, that everything we do is for the people that utilize Bella Vista's facilities, amenities. And I want to be part of that because I think I can contribute. Thank you.
Lou?
When we moved up here from Van Buren, we sold our house down there and completely retired from everything that I've done. Being in the Planning Commission, I retired from that also, which I spent 12 years and dealt with boards, dealt with city council. And then when we moved up here, I figured that, this is the place I want to be. And I want to put my best foot forward and be able to tell you all that that's what I would do for you. I want to make sure that the amenities are taken care of, the resale values. It's a big concern of mine. If we did lose a golf course, what would happen to the resales of houses? It would be in a decline, but we've got an upgrade right now on construction. There's a lot of permits out there right now, so they're coming, and we need to make sure all this is ready. Thank you.
Pat?
I'd like to be on the board because I need to pay. And that really is true in a way, because I love volunteering. I love spending time trying to do things that I personally don't benefit from, but that other people would benefit from. I worked at the recycling center. Put in a lot of Fridays and Wednesdays working up there. But again, I earned money while I was working, but that money was not paid to me, but was paid to the animal shelter. That was the charity that I decided that I would give my compensation to. I have really, really enjoyed working with the people who are on the board right now. I think we have people on the board who are spirited, who have the best interests of the community in mind, and I would like to continue to be a part of that group because I think we're going in just the right direction right now.
Mary?
I'm a candidate for the PO board for a lot of reasons. The most important ones are, like Pat, I love to volunteer. I want to represent all of the residents and POA members. This is an exciting time, I think, in the history of this organization. It's on a roll, and I'd like to be a part of that.
Mike?
Well, I think I can bring some diversity to the board. I think I can bring a conduit to the youth in the community. I think my work throughout the region is needed to get outside of just Bella Vista's walls and understanding what's happening across the other portions of NWA and the state at large. I think that's important to bring to the group. I feel like I have a strong tap into the future of the amenities and have actively been working in the mountain biking and cycling world here for a number of years to bring a lot of these amenities here. I'm really excited to see the growth and how that ends up turning some revenue for the POA. I feel like we've got a lot of ways to go to capitalize on that. I've got a lot of business sense and savvy from what's happening currently in this changing landscape and can speak to a lot of marketing communication needs that help drive those sales and that greater awareness. I'm really plugged into the greater region of states that surround us here, which I know many of you have moved here from other states, and I'm excited to learn about why you moved here. I think we're only going to see more of that and figuring out how to communicate to those other states at large of why to come here is important. I feel like I'm ready and willing to listen to all these folks here as well as the greater community, but willing to also stand up and have a backbone for some stuff too and not roll over. I feel like that's important just as much as agreeing as disagreeing too, because you get a little further down the road when there's a shake in things. So I hope to bring some stability to that and some understanding from a different side of life, and I hope you'll be willing to have me.
Bill?
Serving on the golf community, I've seen golf grow tremendously here, mostly in the condition of the courses, the new programs we have. We've hired new personnel. I've been proud to be part of that process, and I'm proud of the growth that it's shown. If elected to the board, I'd put in that same amount of enthusiasm that I put into the golf committee. I'm also a liaison to the marketing committee, so I'm aware of that program. I would like to serve on the board, and I think I'm fully capable of doing that. Thank you.
We appreciate everybody coming out this evening. That's going to conclude our forum. I have a little bit of housekeeping to do, but first of all, I'd like you to give our candidates all a round of applause. We have some important dates coming up. On the 31st of March will be the cutoff for voter eligibility. And then on April 9th, the election will begin, and it will be a combination or either or of a mail-in ballot or an email ballot. And similar to what it was last year, the same company is operating that, the ballot collections. Then you'll receive several reminders on the 16th of April, the 1st of May, and the 14th of May, reminders to make sure you vote. And then on the 15th at 6 o'clock will be the annual meeting here at Riordan Hall, and we'll be announcing the election results. The voting closes at 5. There'll be a tabulation, and then we'll announce the results later in that meeting. If you want more information about the candidates, there are videos and biographies on the POA website that you can go to and find out more about them. The order that you see them listed is the same order they appear here tonight, is how they're listed on the ballot. We drew those earlier this month or last month to have ballot positions. I would like to introduce a couple members of the election committee. There's Bob and Bill and Ann, and we appreciate all their hard work in getting this forum put together and to work through the election process. And Leah, thank you very much. She is Tom Judson's assistant and executive assistant, and she's been very fundamental in getting our stuff put together tonight. The candidates have agreed to stick around, so if you have questions that we didn't get to tonight, you're more than happy to visit with them, and they'd be more than happy to visit with you. There's also more refreshments, so stick around for a little while. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. I'm Tom Throne. I used to be the editor for the Weekly Vista, and I retired a couple years ago. I am a POA member, so I was asked to be the chairman of be on the committee and also the chairman. With that, we're adjourned. Thanks very much, everybody.